Are you a gem that has gone through the process of Igneous, where life happened and the heat was on, and now that it's settled down, you've been able to look and say, when I was going through the heat, I learned to keep my mouth quiet. I learned to study. When the economic crisis hit, I discovered a talent that is lying inside me. And now that everything has settled, there is this emerald that is coming out of me. There is this diamond that now that time and pressure has settled down, it's emerging out. Hello there, hello family. Welcome to another episode of The Eden's Jam. It's good to be back. To those that are returning viewers and subscribers, thank you. If this is your first time coming across this, or somebody shared it to you, or you just happen to stumble upon it, thank you. And I hope you stick around to listen to this entire episode. And if you're like me, that you have that curiosity gene in you, so you will go and find out what other episodes are all about as well. Before we get into the episode, we want to give a shout out to our production team, Blessed Production, and our director, Marilyn Aiken of Eyes Have Not Seen. Listen, it is such a great honor to be here again, talking to you, you listening to me, you learning, I'm learning. We all becoming the gemologist as we go along. Let me tell you a quick funny story. Have you heard people say when someone is exceptional that we use the term you're a gem? Well, this is a funny thing. A few years ago, somebody had mentioned, or you know how we comment on social media on different virtual platforms or social media platforms. So I was sharing something, and the person wrote in the comment, "Oh, Pastor Ednet, you are a germ," right? They meant a gem, but then there was an R in there, and my executive assistant then was not my executive assistant, but my executive assistant now, then started send me a message just cracking up that I need to stay away from you because you're a germ and you may be contagious or infectious. So we're not talking about us becoming germs, we're talking about us becoming gems. That was about maybe a couple of years ago. But when we were looking for a name to call this, what was supposed to be a podcast but has turned into a YouTube series, I went to my community. I went to friends, I went to family, and told them what it is that I'm planning to do and scouted for names. We came up with a plethora of names as usual through people suggesting. And then I went back with maybe about 10 names, possible names. And the top win was Eden's Gem. So, for those that are wondering, how did we come about this name? That's how we came about it. Now, when the name came about, I decided if I am going to be addressing the beauties of Eden community and address them as gems, I better get myself acquainted to what gemstones are all about. Why do we even call people that are doing exceptional things as gems? And so in this episode, I am going to get a bit technical. So you will see me reading so that I can get you exactly what I need to get you informed. I pray that you will stick around. Sometimes when we get technical, it may seem a bit boring, but it's in the technical. And if you know about the way I operate, I take the technical, I take the information that's out there, and I infuse it with biblical, and by the grace of the Holy Spirit, I'm able to bring forth revelation. And so, if you will bear with me and get through the technical aspect of it, we're going to find out how all these technicalities and the formation of gemstones makes us unique. All right. And so let's go. So, in this episode, we're talking about the composition of gemstones. How do gemstones come about to begin with? So far, we've learned in the series that we've done, I believe this is maybe episode like 10 or 11 in our series, since we started with the introduction of what the gemstone podcast or YouTube series is all about, is probably we're into about 10 or 11 episodes in so far. We took 1 week during Thanksgiving to talk about gratitude, but so far we've been talking about different aspects of what gemstones are all about as I am becoming, I think, a certified gemologist, talking about the world of gemstones. And so far a few things that we've come to know about gemstones is that they're unique, they're rare, and they're beautiful. So these are the top three qualities that make something be determined or defined as a gemstone. But most gem materials such as diamond, ruby, and emerald are minerals. So there are different compositions when it comes to gemstones. There are minerals, there are organic matter, and other forms. So there are minerals, others including amber and pearl have biological origins. So when it comes to amber, they grow, like what they call resins. So it's like a formation of droplets that hardens up over time and become the gemstone called amber. Pearl, if you're not aware, is dug or um, pulled from the ocean in mussels or oysters. So it has a biological origin. So not all gemstones are from volcanic eruptions or mineral formations, but some have a biological origin from it. For a mineral to crystallize, it requires several things. And that is the part that I want you and I, every time that we look at someone that we call a gem, or people look at us and call a gem, we're going to look at these compositions and apply that to our life or use it as a yardstick to see. I believe every single one of God's creation is a beautiful gemstone. The question that we have to ask, as we talked about, am I a granite or a gemstone in maybe episode number 3, is what kind of gemstone am I? Am I a gemstone that is developed by biological origin, or the pressures of life has caused different minerals to come together to form a beautiful, unique crystal called a gemstone? And so, for a mineral to crystallize, if it's not from a biological origin, it requires several things. And these are the things that I need you to know. The right ingredients. In the last episode, I talk about beryl being a group of different minerals that come together, and based on the impurities or what it's infused in, whether it's iron, if it's infused with iron, then it is something else. If it's infused with iron, then it is an aquamarine. If it's infused with chromium, then it is an emerald. So different compositions and materials create our uniqueness as gemstones, right? So the right ingredients, essential combination of chemical elements, number one. Number two, the necessary geographical conditions. So in order for these minerals to come together, it not only required the right ingredients, but it also the necessary geographical conditions such as pressure and temperature. Woo, hoo, hoo, hoo. For some of us, the pressures of life has caused us to be something that we probably were not growing up. We'll get deeper into it when we personalize it. I just again want to talk about the technicalities of how gemstones are formed. Enough time and room to grow. So, four key things that we've looked at here, right? The right ingredients, the geographical conditions, whether it's the temperature or the pressure that is required, and then time tells. So, time and room to grow. To understand how and where minerals form, there must be understanding of earth structure. Now, you and I as Christians know that God created the earth. He used 6 days to create the earth and rested on the seventh day. But when you get into the evolution part, what they believe in the Big Bang theory is that when the Big Bang happened and earth formed into four different circles as layers. So the top layer is called the crust. The second layer under the crust is called the mantle. The layer under the mantle is called the outer core. And then the inner membrane is called the inner core. Geologists believe that most of Earth's so far discovered gemstones are found on the second layer, which is called the mantle. But this is what they believe, that when Earth formed, that the heavier elements sunk slowly to the center and the lighter elements drifted up to the surface, right? So the heavier or the most high quality gems are in the depths. And so, if we have to look and compare our lives to it, the deeper you go in studying, the deeper you go in anything, the more valuable you and I become. So, as gemstones, on the top surface layer, we're going to find sand, we're going to find shells. It's not going to be like you don't go over by the ocean, by the beach, and easily discover a pearl unless it's been washed offshore. In order to get a beautiful, high quality pearl, you have to dig deep. In order to get the most rarest and the most huge and the most beautiful diamonds, you have to dig deep, right? So that's how gemologists believe that the gemstones came to be. Gem materials such as diamond, garnet, chrome, dipsyocyte, and peridot form below the crust in the upper mantle and are brought to surface through volcanic activity. There has to be a shaking, there has to be a rumbling. Some of us, it takes the shaking of maybe a loss of a person, a loss of a job, a loss of identity for us to shake up like the volcanic eruptions, and then the beautiful gem inside you come up. The shaking, the volcanic eruptions of economic crisis, inflation, and things like that, right? That brings the best in us, because there is a saying that the mother of all necessity is the mother of all inventions. And to me, that is the volcanic activity that brings about a gem or the beauty in us. And with that now, the movement of the Earth's plates, particularly the formation of breakup. So when there's a shaking, that's when these gemstones are able, volcanic, it opens up and there are crevices and the openings. That time that has been causing these stones to come up, it evolves. In this episode, it may be a little bit longer than usual because, again, I want to get into the technicalities of it. All right. Are you so far with me? I hope you're far with me. If you're thirsty, go pause it, go get some water, and come back and listen to this because it's about to get good. So, when it comes to mineral formation, the gemstones that come from minerals, okay, there are three classifications of rock types that form. If you are a geography major, you know, or if you took maybe social studies, some of you and some of us, all of us, maybe we studied and looked at different rock formations. So gemstones can be formed from three rock types. The first one is called igneous, which form from cooling and solidifying of magma. So when stones, when there's heat and pressure, there are different melting minerals. And then with time, remember I talked about time and room, these come together, it cools down because the volcanic eruption is a lot of heat that melts the materials or the minerals, I should say. When time is given and it goes back to cooling down, these different, remember, if it's different materials and then it erupted and now it's settled down. So maybe over here there was chromium, over there there was aluminum, over there was some silicate. So now that everything became a mush mush with volcanic eruptions, they kind of settle down. And when it cools down, that's when you get igneous rocks, and that's where the gemstones are from. The other type of rock that we find gemstones in is sedimentary. Sedimentary means something that is sedentary. So when the other big rocks from igneous forms and then the settlement, the sediments can come together and they also pull together and form gemstones. And then the third one is the metamorphic rock. And metamorphosis, we can understand, is something that has gone through transformation or change. Okay, so metamorphic rocks have undergone heat and pressure, causing them to change and recrystallize without melting, forming new minerals and textures. That's how gemstones are composed. So now let's bring it home. Make it applicable to our lives. Are you a gem that has gone through the process of Igneous, where life happened and the heat was on, and now that it's settled down, you've been able to look and say, when I was going through the heat, I learned to keep my mouth quiet. I learned to study. When the economic crisis hit, I discovered a talent that is lying inside me. And now that everything has settled, there is this emerald that is coming out of me. There is this diamond that now that time and pressure has settled down, it's emerging out. Or you are the kind of gemstone that is developed from a sedimentary rock. Things fell apart. Okonkwo's book, Things Fall Apart. Things fell apart. And in the crushing, as the Hillsong has the song New Wine, right? In the crushing, in the melting, that God had created something beautiful. So there was no heat. But as things were falling apart around you, now this beautiful emerging gemstone came out of our life. Or are we a gemstone that is formed from a metamorphic process where we didn't melt, we were not grinded, but we discovered as we attended maybe a course here, as we got exposed to a different network here, as we got exposed to someone that has become a mentor or a coach, through that, we are able to pull strength here, pull knowledge here, pull insight here, pull a habit here from when we read a book, and now we are slowly metamorphoses like a butterfly into this beautiful gemstone. So, what is your composition? What has brought you to be the beautiful gem that you are? Or, my question is, are you even aware that you are a gemstone? In the next episode, we're going to pick up from there and go and find out more about gemstones. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe, share the link, and invite someone to come and listen to The Eden's Gemstones episodes. God bless you and see you in the next episode.